I'm going to review a couple different examples of multiplicative comparisons. The kids will know this as the bar models. And for the Chapter 2 review, you will see quite a few problems like this, and hopefully this explanation helps. So my first example, and obviously here I'm not going to write a whole paragraph, but to shorten it, I'm going to say that Mrs. Webb has 3 times as many students as I do. And together we have 16 students. So what I tell the kids is that you need to make a bar model starting with the initials. So I'm going to start with Webb and Hafner. And we know that Mrs. Webb has 3 times as many students as I do. So Mrs. Webb is going to get 3 boxes. And so then automatically I only get 1. And then I asked the students, well, what other information do they tell us? Well, they said together they have 16 students. Well, together means that that's how much we have all together here. So I tell the students to make a bracket and then put a 16. Now before making this, you would have said, well, 3 doesn't go into 16. But we want to know all together, and so we technically have 4 boxes all together. And so then I could think in my head, well, 4 times what gives me 16? And they should say, oh, well, that equals 4. 4 times 4. And so that's what goes in the boxes. From there, I could ask different questions. How many students does Mrs. Webb have in her group? Well, 4 plus 4 plus 4, or 4 times 3, is 12. Well, how many students does Mrs. Hafner have? She only has 4 in her group. Okay, so that's one example where they give you the together and where you would start out putting that with your bracket. Here's another example. My dog's Meat and Taters. Taters is younger, and so Taters actually runs 4 times as much as Meat runs. So I have Taters and I have Meat. Well, who runs further? Taters runs further. Exactly how many times further? 4 times. So Taters gets 4 boxes, and Meat sadly gets 1 box automatically. What other information did they give us? Well, I said together they run 10 miles. Together, I put my bracket out here, and I know they run 10 miles. Again, you should have noticed, well, 4 doesn't go into 10, and so that doesn't make any sense. But once you make the model, the bar model, it should hopefully help. So I see that I have 5 boxes altogether, so 5 times what gives me 10? Well, I know 5 times 2, so n equals 2, and that's what goes in the boxes. I asked the students, how many miles does Taters run? They could say 2 times 4, or they could do repeated addition, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and then go from there. One more example, changing it up a little bit and giving different information. I have Jack and Sally. So I'm going to write a J for Jack and S for Sally. Jack has 6 times the cards that Sally has. So Jack automatically gets 6 boxes. And then sadly, Sally gets 1 box. What other information did they give us? Well, they told us that Sally has 7 cards. So Sally gets 7. If that goes in that box, all the other boxes are going to have 7s. I could ask, well, what is the total that Jack has? So you could draw a bracket up here and do 7 times 6, which is 42. I know that Sally only has 7. I could ask, well, how many cards do they have all together? You would add the 42 plus 7 and get 49. There are lots of different questions we could ask, but hopefully this helps with the bar models that you might be working with tonight.